Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Surviving Hollywood podcast. My name is Aaron Arnold.
And I'm Johnny Diaz.
I am Austin Arnold.
And we just sat down with a very accomplished cinematographer named John Rosario.
Yep.
He just won an Emmy for a news segment, right, that he did with the Los Angeles Dodgers, focusing on one of the players.
It was the story about Kirk Gibson and the famous 1988 World Series walk-off home run. Super cool. Featured Sam Jackson in the piece with Rob Lowe, George Lopez. It was really cool.
And he won an Emmy for that, and he didn't bring it, unfortunately. But we talked to him about that. He talked about what it was like growing up from a Latino home, and he talked about how his parents, you're not really like encouraged to be an artist, and how he did it. He was going to school first as a civil engineer, and he was, had the option of building bridges for hundreds of thousands of people, but he decided to switch to cinematography and build bridges and burn bridges for millions of people.
Great decision.
Yeah.
Right?
I liked it.
No, it was a fun pod. Super chill dude. Really relaxed, down to earth, and man, he just loved to talk movies. So we got to talk a little bit about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Talked about some of his favorite DPs and favorite movies, and
he's a guy
really
who
enjoyed it.
legitimately loves film, and you could tell that he's pretty soft-spoken, but you can, very enthusiastic just about talking about how he likes to shoot it. He likes Darren Aronofsky, Requiem for a Dream. We bonded over that because he likes to shoot dark type stuff.
Well, you'll see. Hey, and before we close it,
And that's it.
Hey, I don't think we say this enough. Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day to you guys out there. I think you guys enjoy the podcast, especially if you are in the indie filmmaking world. Mm-hmm. Stay tuned.
Have you done podcasts before?
This is a first for me.
Big day.
First podcast, huh?
You always remember your first.
That's right.
We're happy that we are the lucky ones to be the first, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dude, absolutely, man.
It's special for sure.
Do you listen to Rogan or Marin, or do you have podcasts that you listen to?
I was listening to Wandering DP for a little bit. Then the ASC also has some podcasts where they interview cinematographers and directors and things like that, but haven't lately.
Do you find those like really helpful for what you're up to?
I think it's just nice to hear other perspectives on the craft and what other people go through.
Right.
So,
What Wandering DP? What is that one about?
it's
The DP that just wanders aimlessly, lost in life.
It's a cool title. Patrick O'Sullivan, he hosted. He's a cinematographer, and he just interviews different cinematographers on projects that they've done, directors sometimes,
Cool.
and just talks about the craft and what it takes to make certain things.
What's the most important part about being a DP? What do people not know?
Patience, and you just have to be a problem solver. It's a fun job and it's cool, and you get to make some great stuff, but you kind of have to be an observer and just like allow people to just do their own thing on set, and you're just kind of a fly on the wall, just absorbing everything and just coming up with solutions and
Just yelling at people, don't block the light.
Well, that's interesting because so there's two ways of going about it. You can be a yeller,
Right.
or you can be kind of like someone that's just like chill, or just
Or a disappointed father.
right, or a disappointed father. I think I'm the disappointed father for sure. I'm not a yeller.
buddy, what do we talk about?
You'll regret this a few years from now. That's what it is.
So
It's kind of like, was it I can't remember if it was the DP, that whole situation with Christian Bale and Terminator. I can't remember if it was a DP situation or what was going on, but he was yelling at the DP, right?
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know the full story,
Right.
but I think he was like adjusting lights or checking lights
In the middle of a take or something. Or
And that DP was specifically for he made a lot of music videos, so I don't think Christian Bale,
Respected
him as much.
Is that what it was?
I think so.
come on, we're making Terminator here. It's art.
So yeah, he was just worried about the picture, and Christian Bale was like, "You don't know how to work with actors."
I heard this was during a rehearsal.
Was
or
it a
something.
rehearsal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was just getting in the way, and then it was just it's pretty embarrassing, really. And it's funny, I think about that sometimes when when doing rehearsals where I'm checking lights and I'm metering stuff and I'm like, man, am I going to get, yelled at by the actors?
Do you have that, do you have that feeling of like walking on eggshells though around actors? Is that?
No, it's honestly, my relationship with actors is pretty respectful and chill. And, I get along really well with actors on set. The first thing I do is I introduce myself and just kind of try to develop a really good relationship with the actors. Because I ask a lot of them, from micro adjustments to little things like that. So I think that it's important that my relationship with them is really strong. So.
And if you have a strong relationship, or if they're like in tune and they're doing a great job and they're helping you make them look good, do you take the time to light them better? Or if they're kind of jerks, do you kind of not worry about it and their lighting is a little bit worse?
Yeah, it's funny. I do hold the power to do that, right? but no, I try to keep it professional, even though that if that's the situation. But it's like a dance, they help me, I help them, and we work together to get the best out of it.
Do you ever have anybody giving you more of a difficult time?
It's not that anyone has given me a difficult time. I think it was more so sometimes inexperience can create some kind of issues. Maybe an actor's not hitting their mark and they really need to hit that mark for the light, and it just can get a little frustrating.
And you're running out of daylight.
Yeah. But for them too, because we're constantly going over and saying, hey, as a reminder, can you hit that mark? And it's just
Do you often engage the actor, or you leave that to the director?
The relationships I have with directors it's a pretty good one in the sense that I can talk to the actors, not about performances, but I can just go up to them and say, hey, can you move a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right? Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And
or hey, are you sure about that choice?
No, I'll never overstep that. I'll take the director to the side and be like, hey, man, what do you think about that? What And
they just the casual eye roll. Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I get it. Is there certain things that actors can do that make your job 100% easier? Like, what do you love to see when an actor gets on set?
Man, I worked with Robert Englund. For those who don't know, he played Freddy Krueger, the original, and he was like a super pro. And he would always hit his marks. He would always ask for what lenses we were shooting on, and he would react based on that when it came to movement and things like that. And I think having an understanding of the lens that we're on would make just everyone's job easier, and it'll make the actor look much better. So if we're on a 100mm lens on a super close up,
so it's tight, can't move a lot.
The focus puller is just gonna go crazy. And
so you're saying I can't go like this?
Yeah.
It's every DP's dream, right?
Yeah, man. I have a focus puller that I've worked with for over 10 years, and he's just like a crass New Yorker. He's always like, man, just he's
will not suffer fools.
Yeah, so I like to shoot wide open a lot, and so he always rags on me for it. So.
Yeah, you guys going down to usually how low do you guys go? Like a 2?
I mean, there's
1.4?
times where just like at a 1.4 out of necessity, or just the visuals call for it, or
there's really no movement at all.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, but he's super talented, good. And he's one of those guys that can just pull off of instinct. He plays a lot of video games, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
He's got that joystick handy.
Yeah. So
nice, man. Are you from New York originally then?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So can you tell us a little bit about growing up over there and how did you get into this world, man?
Oh man, by accident actually.
Nice.
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, East New York, which wasn't the best neighborhood. It was like the hood, like the ghetto. And my family, I'm first generation American. My family came from the Dominican Republic.
Cool. So hablas español.
Sí, hablas español.
Hey.
Whoa. What?
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
You don't have a Dominican accent, and you don't even have like an urban accent.
It's funny, man. So I used to have like an urban accent for sure. Well, so I was born and raised in New York, and only spoke Spanish for the first couple of years of my life. My mom kind of when she had me, times were rough, so she sent me to the Dominican Republic to stay with my grandma for the first couple of years of childhood, and so I only spoke Spanish. And then I went and I came back to New York and went into school and started learning English. So it was kind of like this, I had this like Spanish accent with English and then this urban accent all kind of mixed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until going to college that I started to kind of, I don't know how it happened, but my accent started to fade as I started to interact with other people. Because, you know, growing up in East New York, I went to elementary school, junior high school in like an urban setting. So that's all I knew. And then going to college outside of New York to Long Island, you know, it was predominantly white, and just kind of being exposed to that just kind of changed me in a way. And so I think that's how I lost my accent.
But Long Island has an accent too, right?
Yeah, they have like that Long Island accent, like that in New York. Yeah,
right. So because it sounds like those are like your formative years when you're a kid. Obviously, they're kind of like the way you talk and stuff. Did you just kind of like it just kind of just faded off? It
just faded. You know, because growing up in an urban setting, you speak a lot in slang.
Right.
And so if I'm interacting with people that don't really understand what I'm saying half the time, I have to kind of adapt. And I think that's how it faded.
Nice.
So.
Did you go to school for cinematography?
Yeah. So, you know, my family, I come from like a blue collar family. You know, they're either laborers or in administration. You know, they're not really in the arts, and I wasn't really exposed to the arts as a kid. I kind of just like stumbled upon, you know, I used to draw a lot. I used to like, you know, do a bunch of stuff like that, but it was never like nurtured because my family, there's just, you know, there was just like working class.
Yeah. Typical Latino.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, they just don't, you know. And then, so I was going to school for civil engineering.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my family's like, you know, just get a good job that pays well, you know, and that's how it is.
That is the mentality,
right?
It's like, hey, just work there for 30 years, you get your pension and your 401k, and you
retire,
and
you're set, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what it was. And I was going to a community college for civil engineering in Brooklyn, and I had a friend who I went to high school with. His name was Idris, and he's a musician. And I think one time we were just having lunch, and he said to me, he was like, "Hey, man, let me ask you a real question." And I was like, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Do you see yourself being happy with what you're doing, with what you're pursuing?" And I was like, "Oh shit, you know, I've never thought about that. You know, happiness and the job that you do just didn't work in my upbringing. Like
that's about the money.
It was always about the money,
and the stability.
Yeah, especially an immigrant family coming in. It was like, you know, let's make as much money as you can to live comfortably.
And New York is an expensive city, man.
It is.
So
it is, man. And I just never thought about it, and it just kind of rocked my world. And I was just like, man, you know, and I thought about it, and I thought about my future in that moment. And I was like, no, I don't think I'll be happy being a civil engineer. I'm just doing it for the money. And he goes, well, what makes you happy? He goes, well, I guess I like watching movies. He goes, well, why don't you go to film school? And I go, yeah, maybe I'll give that a shot. And then and I did. And I went to film school in Long Island. And I went for 2 years. I kind of dropped out after 2 years.
Okay.
I had a choice, actually. It was a professor that came up to me. It was like, hey, man, because while I was in college, I was working a lot outside of the school on little film projects and making connections and networking, you know, the New York hustle. And then, but I would miss a lot of classes. And the professor was just like, man, why don't you just drop out? Like, you're not in class. And, but they were all very supportive. And I was just like, yeah, I think it's time for me to just like,
and your parents were cool with that? I
mean, not cool at all.
I was going to say.
Not cool. They really didn't understand what I was going for. You know, they didn't like the decision that I made of not pursuing civil engineering, then going to film school, you know, pursuing the arts. It was just something that didn't make sense to them. And then dropping out of an art school, you know, that was just like, man, what is he? Yeah. They didn't think I would make it. You know,
like, are you on drugs? What is it? Drugs? What is it?
I can guarantee my mom thought that at some point. And then, and then, you know, working outside of school, not getting paid. That was also like, what are you doing?
You're working for free.
Yeah, you're working for free, living at home.
Now you think about it in hindsight, like working in film, it sounds so smart, right?
Yeah,
it's such a good decision. Like working for free, long hours. Yeah, it sounds like a really good plan.
Yeah. So they just didn't get it. And then, you know, my father was like, he's strict. So he's like, man, you know, what are you doing? My mom would sometimes slide me a $20 bill. It's like, hey, you know, I know you need it. You know, here you go. So it was like things like that. It was a struggle in the beginning, man. It was a struggle. I remember my mom and my aunt had an intervention with me at one point. They were like, you know, my aunt called me up and she was like, hey, you know, I really got to talk to you. It was on my birthday too. think I was 22 or something. And she's like, listen, I think you should just pursue film as a hobby, like on the weekends, and just get a job and do film on the weekends. And I was just like, man, they just don't get it. So it was a struggle in the beginning.
When was the first time you made money?
Man, I started out doing music videos, and it was definitely on a music video. Oh, you know what? Actually, take it back. The first job I got was following a baker around in Britain. There was a guy by the name of Cake Man Raven. Yeah,
wow, sounds great.
He was like.
He sold cakes out of his trunk. That's what it sounds like.
Hey, you want some bread?
Yeah.
Cake Man Raven, come on.
He was like the king of like red velvet cakes. Like he just really
self-proclaimed.
Yeah,
That's his thing.
That was his thing. And then they needed someone to follow him around to do like just a documentary on him. And I remember just being hired to do that. And I would make, I don't know, $100 a week.
Yeah.
It was like, but that was like the first job.
Were you shooting or were you doing something else on set?
Everything, man. I was shooting, editing, and then doing my own sound. Yeah.
The
How
whole thing.
was the cake, if I may ask?
Incredible.
Well deserved.
Got paid in cakes, But that was like my first gig, and then I started doing music videos, mostly music videos and documentaries, and just like corporate jobs.
Are music videos easy or corporate jobs easy compared to like actually making a film you wanted to make?
I think it depends on the creative, but generally they're a bit easier, I would say, than making like a narrative feature film.
Unless the band is giving you trouble.
But,
they only want hero shots.
Right. But I think it's easier. I think there's two paths you can take, right? You can take the music video commercial path and just eventually make a ton of money. But then it'll be harder to break into narrative once you're stuck in the commercial and music video world.
I was gonna say, is that the play? Like when you're starting off, you do music videos, commercials, then you gravitate towards film, or do you just hit film and just stay there?
I think it's easier to get into commercials and music videos and then try to break into narrative, and that was the path that I was on, but it was a moment in my life where that kind of changed, and I started pursuing narrative. And I remember I was in Atlanta shooting a music video, and I remember waking up in the hotel room because these music videos I was shooting, they're just poorly produced. They, not a lot of money,
Right.
And
typical low budget,
Video.
hip hop music videos, which can sometimes get a little sketchy. I'll save some stories for later.
Yeah, all right, we love those stories.
I love hip hop music videos.
And I mean, there was one in Memphis where I thought my AC and I were just gonna get killed. It was like really bad, and
all the shit's gonna get stolen.
Yeah,
sounds like a legit band though.
We had a red camera. It was just like
Yeah. You can usually tell by the crafty what kind of shoot this is gonna be.
Zero
like.
crafty,
Exactly.
so you already
so
know.
You're like, hey, is there a coffee? Nah, man. Like,
just red vines, just a tub of red vines.
But I remember waking up in the hotel room and just like really not wanting to go into work. I was just like, man, I don't want to do this. And I started to hate what I was doing. And I was like, I really love shooting and I really love filmmaking. I don't want to hate what I do. So I need to change something, because I don't want to start hating this. And so I made a decision to stop shooting music videos and just kind of went into shooting short films and little projects like that. But in doing so, I went back to like kind of zero, shooting short films for free and just making a little bit of money here, shooting, senior thesis projects and things like that. And, it was more creative. It had more creative fulfillment shooting narrative pieces, but you don't get paid the best on these projects. So, I started going the narrative route, and once you go that route, then you don't really shoot commercials anymore. You don't really do that as much. You're kind of now on the narrative path, but the thing with that is that sometimes you have to take every narrative project that comes your way to pay the bills. So it's kind of
even if it's so that includes like the lower budget indie stuff, obviously, or the little shorts that the director's got a passion project or something.
Yeah, I mean my first feature film we shot for $10,000.
Okay,
all right.
And, it was just an AC and I and the director and a few actors and in Pennsylvania somewhere.
What was that first feature?
It was called
Reservoir Dogs.
Okay. You may have heard of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Blair Witch Project. It was called Watch Me. It was like a horror film. We shot in Pennhurst, Pennsylvania. It was like the director was Ben Samuels, still a good friend of mine, and we've shot 2 other projects since. We've shot 3 feature films together.
Watch Me 2 and Watch Me 3.
Yeah, 4 on the way. So. And it was interesting. We shot in an abandoned insane asylum. It was like this big community.
Did you guys just roll up guerrilla style, or was it like we
got permission.
permits for this?
Yeah, he got permission.
Asylum. Okay.
It was like a handshake permission. Like, yeah, we just want to shoot something.
This
here.
guy's the owner. It's just like some sketchy dude that lives there.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was just the AC and I with a 3-ton grip truck and a generator, just doing it all and just kind of trying to make the best out of it.
Wow. Yeah, those are rough shoots though sometimes.
Oh, super rough, man. Yeah. From that shoot, I had like a permanent like shoulder damage from that. That was like almost 10 years ago. So.
I don't want to backtrack too much, but what are your favorite movies? Like, what movies did you see as a kid that was like, man, this is why I love watching movies and getting into filmmaking?
So I always enjoyed movies, but it never occurred to me that I could make them, or or what it meant, what I was watching, how to make me feel. I never thought about that. It was just entertainment. And I think once I made the decision, I was like, maybe I should go to film school, and I think at that point I started to look at movies in a different light. And during that era, I remember watching Requiem for a Dream.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
This guy never stops talking about it.
It's one of my favorite ones.
It is. Yeah. It's a really good movie, though. That's a great movie.
And that was the movie that made me think, like, whoa. Like, it just had an impact on me. And I was like, man, it just emotionally, it just like, changed my perspective on filmmaking. And I started thinking, wow, you can make movies to make people feel a certain way. Because I've never thought about it that way. And that was like the first movie that I kind of recognized that could elicit emotions, So I was like, yeah.
It's just you see those characters with all like the hope, and they're doing something, and then it just all falls apart. And
I think that had watching that at that time kind of curated what I like now. It's such a tragic movie, and I like tragic movies now, and I like filming tragic films. So
a lot of your stuff is really dark.
Oh man, yeah.
But it looks really cool.
For me, I just feel like you can shape, you can elicit so much emotion in the way that you present light on an actor's face or in an environment, because if everything was just brightly lit and flat, there's just no feeling behind it.
It's a Disney movie.
Or,
it's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Hey.
So I feel like if you can turn off the audio and you can follow what the film is trying to say visually, then I think that's a success for me. So.
Yeah. Do you have what are some of your influences now? Like, I feel like some of the stuff I saw had like Refn vibes a little bit.
Oh man,
Refn. I love Refn.
Love Drive.
Yeah, dude.
Love Drive.
Have you seen that new show Too Old to Die Young at all?
I haven't yet.
Okay, dude. I think you would.
Yeah.
I've only seen the pilot episode of it, but he's one of my favorite directors, and like, I just remember seeing like a lot of like promos when that show came out that like it was like a cinematographer's wet dream, because like every single frame is just crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And that's what I love. I love like the calculated, let's think about this frame. What does it mean? We're not here to just cover a scene. We're here to craft it. Like, how do we say something with this? And that's the kind of mentality I like to go in when making something.
And you work with the director beforehand, or sometimes you direct, but a lot of your stuff is cinematography, right?
All of it.
All of it, except for the Emmy-winning one.
Well, that was interesting. So I'm listed as a director on there, but
I saw that.
I didn't direct it.
So who directed?
Wait, and for the folks at home, would you give a little bio?
What is this we're talking about? You won an
Yeah.
Emmy.
So you won an Emmy.
So
Tell us about that.
I won an Emmy.
So modest.
And I found when I got nominated for it, I found out that it wasn't for like the prime, it wasn't prime time. And I discovered that there are multiple Emmy award ceremonies throughout the year for different categories. There's daytime Emmys, the primetime Emmys that we know and love. And then this one was like the LA Emmys. So it was like, commercials and things that were shot in LA that aired in LA. And I shot a promo for the LA Dodgers.
The Kirk Gibson story, yeah.
With George Lopez,
yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, one of the best actors out there.
Yeah.
Who else?
Rob Lowe,
and a bunch of other familiar faces.
Yeah.
And I was hired by the Dodgers internal production team.
Okay.
So there was like a bunch of producers and editors.
And they just knew you, or how did you land the gig?
I landed the gig from a mutual. So just to backtrack, I shot with these producers that produced Romney Malco's directorial debut.
Oh, I like him.
Prison Logic.
I didn't know he directed.
Yeah, so this was his first piece, which hasn't come out yet,
man.
and it's coming out.
Is it a comedy too, or?
It's a mockumentary.
Interesting.
Which was interesting for me because it's a whole story there. I don't know if you want me to go into that.
I mean,
kind of go back to the Emmy.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
So-
40-year-old virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
course.
So
Yeah.
So I had shot that with the producers. Then the producers hooked me up with this friend of mine, Chris Parker, who at the time worked for the Clippers. And he's like, I'm looking for someone to shoot this narrative commercial. And I shot that. And then he hooked me up with a friend of his, Julian Gooden, who at the time worked for the LA Dodgers. And that's how they hired me. And they just wanted me to add like a cinematic flair to it. And they just wanted me to shoot it.
Yeah.
But there was just kind of, I guess, when it came to the nominations, there was like some kind of a miscommunication, and I was listed as director and not cinematographer, and then that kind of stuck.
I'll take it.
So that's how that happened.
And this is how your directing career launched.
Yeah.
Right? So what are you directing now?
But did you know that was going to be up for an Emmy? Like, were you aware?
Did you know
I
it was
wasn't.
special?
I didn't. I remember at the time just thinking, oh, this is a cool job. I get to shoot something for the Dodgers, and I didn't think that it would, go anywhere really.
No, this isn't the usual stuff that Samuel L. Jackson or Rob Lowe. This isn't like a movie. This was like a story of a commercial for the Dodgers almost.
Yeah.
But like a story about the Dodgers. Did they show up like knowing their stuff? Like
Yeah. I mean, George Lopez is a super Dodger fan.
Right.
And he was like on, and he was willing, and he gave us as much time as we needed, and he was just happy to be there. Same thing with Sam. So it was just
Rob Lowe, on the other hand.
No, Rob Lowe was great. We went to his house.
Oh, nice.
He's like, I'll only do it if you guys come to me.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful.
Everyone else
property.
came to Dodger Stadium though. Yeah, but
Yeah, man. So it was fun. It was cool.
What's your favorite Samuel L. Jackson movie?
Man, that's a tough one. So on Netflix,
Snakes on a Plane.
Performance, yeah.
Black Snake Moan. No,
is that right?
That's dark.
I actually haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either.
Man, it's got to be Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction.
It's a classic.
Anything Tarantino.
Django.
His role in Django is so
Django,
good,
he was
especially
so
when he
good in
takes Candy
Django.
aside and tells him they are here for Hildy or whatever. And he's like, what?
It's funny. I'll tell you a funny story about Sam. When we were shooting him, remember he had his glasses on. We were shooting him on a green screen, and it was just reflections in his glasses.
Oh, that was a green screen?
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? It looked
so
really
we
good.
Yeah, we shot him on the green screen, and then we went to the Dodger Stadium and the actual like locker room and
Okay.
kind of lit it for that.
Got it.
But I remember going to the producer and I was like, "Hey man, listen, can you ask him to take his glasses off because the glare is like really bad?" And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." He goes up to Sam. He goes, "Hey Sam, do you mind taking your glasses off? Because we just can't really see your eyes." And he just stood quiet for a second. He goes, "No, motherfucker, I can't see." I was like, "Oh man!" So he took the heat for my request, and I was just like, "Oh,
see, that's
sorry,
one of those
man."
times where like as the DP, you're like, I'm gonna let them take this.
Yeah. You have to like really see what's happening.
But did he need to see it? There was no teleprompter. It was just
No, there actually was a teleprompter.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
he definitely did need to see.
Fair
it.
enough.
So, yeah.
Oh,
That's fair.
Yeah.
nice, man. So that's congratulations on that,
Thank
man.
you.
That's
Thank
really
you.
awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And I don't want to be ridiculed for this. Maybe this is too basic, but after you won the Emmy, did your world career-wise open up?
Basic.
Did you notice an instant change in terms of the credibility that it added, or is it too soon to tell?
I think it's too soon to tell. When I got nominated, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That would be awesome." And then didn't think about it. And then the day came, and we're there. We're sitting in the room in the auditorium, and like another Dodger piece was nominated right before us, and we're sitting there, and that piece won.
The specific Dodgers category of the Emmy.
Yeah. And that piece won, and I'm sitting there, I was like, "Oh, we're not going to win because they can't win like two awards in a row."
Yeah.
But we did, and then won the award, brought it home, and it just all feels surreal. It doesn't feel real. And
How does it feel as a Mets fan?
I always get my balls busted for wearing a Mets hat in LA.
On set too, you're like, can you take that damn thing off?
Yeah, and I go, "Don't forget, the Dodgers came from Brooklyn." So,
That's true.
but yeah, it hasn't hit yet. I don't think, and it still doesn't feel real. I see it every morning on my mantle. It's like, "Oh, that's cool." But
It's good that it's being used on a mantle, not a paperweight. Or
I
something.
was hoping you'd bring it.
I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to like walk around with it. I'd be really pretentious.
You bring it to the Whole Foods.
These guys walk around with an IPA and an Emmy.
You know what's
that
funny?
would have been funny.
Yeah, right. You know what's funny? I The night we won, we went to a restaurant, and I was thinking, I was like, all right, do I put it in the box or do I bring it to the restaurant exposed?
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'll keep it exposed. We didn't have reservations. We just went.
Yeah.
And then I guess them seeing it made them give us the best seat in the house. And
Oh,
I was
really?
Like, oh, benefits.
Sorry, sir. We're all full for. Oh, hey, come on
Yeah,
in.
everyone was looking at us as we walked to
Yeah.
like this area.
You watched them pull a couple guests off their table.
Yeah, I was like, all right, you gotta go. You gotta go.
There you go.
Yeah, so that was funny.
My question is, now that you've got the Emmy, obviously, I'm sure a lot of roads will open up for you. Does this give validation to your parents now? Like, how did they feel about it? Were they excited?
Yeah, I mean, super excited. My mom was like, over the moon. She was like really happy. And I think now, I mean, well before the Emmy, they've kind of accepted and realized that I'm going to be okay. That
It's a career.
It's a career.
Right.
Making money, and I'm not
Yeah.
struggling. And so this kind of was just like solidified it all. And so,
What do you think? Where was it at one point that you felt like they finally understood?
I think when I moved out of the house and I could support myself and and I started making income, that they were like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
I know that's hard because like I'm first generation too.
Yeah.
My parents are from Mexico and Colombia.
Oh, cool.
And it's the same thing, man. It's
Yeah.
like nobody in my family's really in the arts, so it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you should just get a job, and I'm like, yeah, well, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, right?
You know,
and
it
that's
doesn't sound fun, and it's like I could, but I'll be miserable my whole life.
yeah.
You know?
Like, that's okay.
You're like, yeah, but look at me, I'm miserable for the last 30 years.
Because of you.
You were an accident. No, but I get it, man. It's definitely because I felt that same need of trying to get validation when I moved out here and was like, how are you going to survive? And it's like, you can always, that's a hobby. What are you going to really do?
Yeah.
You know? So I get that feeling, man.
I remember using that as fuel.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta prove to them that this is like real, that I'm taking this serious, and this is gonna be my career, and that kind of helped me in the beginning, just push forward and keep the hustle and the passion.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to people who are interested in cinematography that you have learned by now? But what don't people get about it?
I guess they think that we eventually want to become directors, which is interesting, because they're like, oh, cinematography is cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And they always think that we want to direct. And I've had actually directors ask me if I wanted to direct. Just as the way I approach things, I before talking shots and just breaking it down, I like to get into the core of like the actor, the scenes. Sorry, I said actor, the character, the scenes, and what it means, and what the director's trying to say, and really get in depth with the psychology of it all. And so I guess that because of that, a lot of directors are like, oh, do you want to direct? And I was like, no, I don't want to direct, but I just want to really understand where you're coming from, so I can be an extension of you and kind of just create this thing as best as we can. And
Why don't you want to direct? Is it because you like crafting the picture better than the whole?
I think so. I remember in college there was a defining moment, because when I went to film school, at that point I didn't really know what I wanted to do, if I wanted to direct or if I wanted to shoot. I didn't know what I wanted. I was just kind of learning it all and just doing everything. And I remember we needed to shoot a school project, and I was directing and shooting. And in that moment, I remember focusing more on the visuals than the performance of the actor. And I was like, this means something. And I was like, okay.
You're like, that actor sucks, but damn, this shot looks good. Right, you know?
So, yeah.
There's something about that, though.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, you sound like kind of like a director's dream, in a sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Some directors are not interested, though, in getting into the psychology of things. They just want to collect, shoot, and just cover a scene.
Get paycheck.
Yeah.
When's lunch?
When's lunch?
What's up with this crafty?
Yeah.
But how is it working with a director that's really new? Like, let's say they know nothing about cameras. Has that? I'm sure on some of these smaller projects, you've probably worked with some of these people.
Yeah, and
what's that like?
That it's interesting. I think that if they have zero ego and they come in like super humble and they're like, let's how do we do this? I think that's the best case scenario, because then we can really talk about things and we can walk into it together. But if like you were working with a new young director and they're just like, yeah, I'm like the best, that can be a little challenging, because they're say they decide to shoot something in a certain way and it's not working for the scene, and I try to explain that and they're just not hearing me.
Right.
We can, it can be a problem when it comes to
you ultimately would have to shut up because he's the director.
Right? Ultimately.
And
so I can plead my case and say, hey, this is what I think. This is why I think it. What do you think? But
you just have to succumb to.
But that hasn't really happened. I've been fortunate enough to work with directors that are very, level-headed and understanding, and
you're level-headed, so they probably respond to you and are grateful for your point of view.
Yeah, and I try to, I guess, approach it in a way where it's like, let me just hear them, let me understand them, let me be their ally. A lot of times I've seen cinematographers that are just trying to shoot like their reels, or they're trying to get like the best looking picture ever, and kind of like forget about the story, forget about the director's needs or their voice. And I think going in that way, trying to understand the director, I think they're a bit more open.
Yeah.
I like to, break bread with directors and just kind of sit with them and just talk about things unrelated to the project. Just get to really get to know them a little more. I think my go-to meal is always ramen. I feel like it's like, let's get some ramen. Let's
fulfilling.
Yeah.
Ever since college.
Yeah.
Ramen?
I went from cup of noodles to like the true Japanese stuff. So it's an upgrade.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you real quick about I was kind of going through your IMDb, but there was one project that looked interesting to me was Eyes of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
That one shot POV.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, was it really one shot?
I don't know. I don't know if I can say.
Hot take.
I'm sure I can.
It's advertised in the trailer. I don't know.
How long is it?
It's like an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
a
it's
full
really one
movie.
shot. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So all right. So it's an hour and a half in kind of real time. Same director I did my first feature with, Ben Samuels.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It was interesting, man. The funny thing about that is a week and a half before shooting, Ben and his brother who was helping him, produce it, we decided to play a pickup game of like soccer, which is a mistake because I sprained my ankle. And a week before shooting, I'm like, man. But fortunately, I didn't have to operate the camera. We had, Ben actually wore the rig. So he was
the guy that was doing the whole thing. Okay.
So he thought, okay, so, I'm going to act in this, be the eyes, and I'm going to wear the rig. So that way it was easier for him to communicate with the actors and get him to do what he wants and control the camera. And
this was inspired by Hardcore Henry?
It was around the same time. Hardcore Henry hadn't come out yet.
Or Birdman, right?
No, Birdman wasn't POV.
It was one shot, but...
Oh, yeah. You're right, POV.
Yeah. But it was interesting. It's a point of view zombie movie, which I haven't seen. And
fun, dude. Just watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this seems like fun. I want to watch this.
Yeah.
I was like, cool.
It takes you through a journey for sure, and there's some unexpected things that happen, and it's kind of cool.
I'm curious about the rig. Like, what did you guys have mounted to him, and how did that whole setup work?
It's funny. We created like this Frankenstein rig because at the time the technology wasn't really there. Like you see it now, and there's like these awesome POV rigs that you could use.
You're like James Cameron. You helped the technology grow.
Yeah. Well, this one was like really scrappy and makeshift, and we wore. Cool. It was like a
paper mache.
Man, it was like
coat hanger,
a hiking vest with like, I don't know, cables and wires and just like rods, and just to hold the camera next to the Ben's head. And
so the camera was right here?
Yeah, it was off to the side to the right of him.
What kind of camera did you guys use?
We shot on a Red,
Really?
Yeah, because I thought I'd like this to be as cinematic as possible. I don't want to shoot on a GoPro or a DSLR or anything like that. I want to be able to control the iris and the look of it and all that stuff.
So were you on a monitor watching as this was going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pulling the iris and...
Wow.
How many, I know it was a single take, but like how many takes? Like, was it hard for him because he had to keep adjusting, like to get the shot he wants? I'm sure that's hard, since it was like jerry-rigged. Was that like, did that take a while to get the shots you guys were looking for?
There were certain scenes that were just like super easy.
Oh, really?
But some scenes we had to do multiple times. One of my favorite scenes in the... I don't know if I'm giving away anything by saying this, but...
I think you're selling the movie, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making us want to go see it.
You can just tell us.
I'll tell you guys. I'm sure Ben wouldn't mind.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah, I'm sure Ben wouldn't mind.
Ben? Oh.
So there's a scene where, the eyes becomes a zombie. And it's interesting. So he gets bit and he starts to transform.
He becomes a zombie?
Yeah, which is
cool.
Really interesting. So it's interesting to see like the visual transformation of that too.
So you see his arms changing and stuff?
Yeah, so
his
there's
hands?
like, Yeah. So So there's
no need to get
got a
angry.
little excited.
The mic.
So he gets bit, and then he goes into the basement, and he's just like really doing bad, and he's like about to transform, and he kind of just falls over, and it cuts to black, and then he like raises back up, and he's looking into a mirror, you know.
Oh.
And what's interesting with the key grip at that point wore the rig, and we adjusted the mirror in a way where Ben was, you know, we see Ben's reflection,
Right.
and then so Ben and the key grip had to move that, you know, match their movements, and it was just like looking at themselves, you know, looking at himself in the mirror and just kind of seeing the transformation, and ultimately he chases after everyone, and it's just kind of cool.
Nice. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that had to be pretty hard.
Yeah,
though.
sounds like one hell of a movie to shoot.
Yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun. And we shot it in Ben's hometown in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Cool. We're from Ohio, so
Oh, cool.
Amish country.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that Amish country or what?
Pennsylvania has a lot of Amish. Ohio has
Yeah.
a lot of Amish.
Quaker State, they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a good weekend getaway with like the significant other? No,
I mean, the Amish host families
like a
like
bed and breakfast or something.
you don't even have to stay the night, but you go there at 6 o'clock. That's when, or 4 o'clock, because the sun goes down at 6, and you have like a huge dinner, and you can do stuff, and then you leave. I mean, you could stay the night, I guess, but they definitely
So no electricity.
they'll take your money and make you food.
Horse and carriage type of thing.
No electricity, horse and carriage. That's why once it gets dark, it's 5:30 or 6. That's it. You got to leave or hang out with the candles.
Oh, really?
Or go to bed.
That's what they do. Go to bed.
By the way, you guys have seen Kingpin? No, you guys haven't seen Kingpin. Have you seen
Yeah,
Kingpin?
I've
No,
seen
I
it.
haven't.
I've seen
Aaron.
it.
Nobody's seen that. Oh, you've seen that?
Yeah.
You know, in the movie, obviously he's Amish. They have like that one day a year where they're allowed to go
Yeah,
free for all.
Rumspringa.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it's real.
Oh, I
When
wondered about that.
when they turn 18, the
Go to
kid.
Vegas.
Aaron did a
whatever.
movie
Yeah,
about
I did a
this.
short film where I played one of these guys, and they turn it's Rumspringa, and that kids are allowed to go out for 1 year and do whatever they want, use electricity, buy whatever they want, wear whatever they want, and after
Drugs, alcohol, whatever.
well, you're not supposed to do drugs, but you could.
You can drink.
Nobody's watching you. Yeah, you drink. And after 1 year, you have to either you should, according to them, choose to come back to the Amish life. And
Wait, you have a whole year to do
whole
this?
year.
Yeah, it's a whole
Oh, I
year.
thought it was only a day.
no, it's a whole year. But if you don't choose that, then you are shunned from society.
Do they give you money when you go?
I don't know.
I wonder.
Who funds this thing?
Yeah.
You did the movie.
I don't know what, like, I'm sure it's different for every family. Hey, dude, I thought we charged the battery.
It's no, it's going. Is the battery?
Isn't it flashing?
The battery. I just put it in right there. Anyway, let's keep going.
Is this still the
let's keep
podcast?
I wonder
Still
what the
on the
percentage of
podcast?
people that come back versus the amount of people that stay.
Yeah, a lot.
That would be interesting to see. Yeah.
a
Well,
lot-
you give up your family. Would you never see your family again to be able to use a computer?
I mean, would I don't have that problem. I'm not Amish.
Okay.
But some people do.
Easy, dude.
Sounds like a good gig.
Hey, have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I have yesterday actually.
Oh, really?
So kind of late to it.
What'd you think?
Give us your take.
I liked it, man. It was kind of, you know, some people hate it. You know, they think that the film had no point and
Right.
no plot.
I loved
just,
it.
But I loved it. It was
thought
just
it was
like
great.
a little story.
A little slice of Hollywood.
That's what
Yeah,
I said
exactly.
about Jackie Brown too. It's kind of like a walking around movie, but I loved it, dude. Brad Pitt was in all my favorite scenes.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
I love Leo was great. I thought there was some really good stuff with him in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. A friend of mine, he didn't like how they treated the Sharon Tate thing, like the alternate history thing.
Oh.
I don't know if that was a spoiler. I
Yeah.
apologize for those who haven't
It's
seen
all
it.
good.
Did she die or?
I don't know. You're gonna have to see. But I kind of like that he does that. That Tarantino does things like that.
Yeah.
It's his own little world.
Yeah.
Nobody had a problem when he, killed Hitler.
Right. right. Yeah.
You mean that's not how he died in the movie theater? Yeah, there it goes. I don't understand what happened though, because you charged it.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it was charging.
but now
It
we
was,
know.
it was there for days.
And now we know for the future.
To get a new battery?
I don't know. Anyway,
we
let's
still have the
just-
audio.
We're still rolling. We're still
Yeah.
going.
My favorite cinematography, one of them was when Brad Pitt was at the ranch. And
Spawn Ranch.
Spawn Ranch, yeah. I just liked, it seemed like.
When he's walking away and she's like, it was a mistake that you came here. And he's like, just what I was thinking. And George isn't the blind one. You're the one who's blind. And it gets that, music, the rockin' music. And then you see everybody yelling at him and he's walking
Right.
away. It's
Yeah.
great. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, I was talking about right
Not
before
really.
where he's going to visit Bruce Stern. And I just
Oh, yeah.
thought they were just kind of like from low angled,
Like the
close
the
shots.
tilted shots.
You thought he was
Yeah.
going to get killed.
He's great at making that tension.
Yeah.
There's so much tension in that whole sequence.
The whole scene, I was like,
I thought he
"Oh,
was a
dude."
goner,
Yeah,
dude.
so did I. I'm like, dude, don't tell me you're gonna kill him, man. Don't kill him, dude.
Yeah.
He's such a cool dude.
But now I wish I had that Hawaiian shirt that Brad Pitt wore.
That's going to be the go-to Halloween costume.
Yeah, dude.
That final scene was wild. I like that with the dogs and stuff.
Yeah,
That was great.
That was fun.
That was
yeah,
so good.
That was a lot of
It
fun.
was like a lot of
I love
Tarantino
that.
there.
And it
Yeah.
really was Brad Pitt doing the heavy lifting. He was doing the stuntman work. And then at the end, Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor, comes out with the flamethrowers.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like a metaphor, dude. It's great.
Yeah, that was really good. Any other main influences that you have on some of your work?
Yeah, you know,
Because I love the dark style, man. It's really cool.
I love, you know, I don't know how that developed, you know, within me. I think it was just something, I don't know.
A lot of stuff in there we need to talk about.
Yeah, some darkness for sure. But my wife makes fun of me all the time. She's like, man, your style is just super dark. And
She's
then,
like, who are you?
yeah, she's like, what's going on here?
What happened as a kid?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
But I just dig it, you know. As far as influences, you know, the cliches, Roger Deakins for sure,
Yeah.
you know, and primarily because he services the story. you know.
who is Roger Deakins?
I don't know, some
Most famous DP ever.
yeah,
Is he? I really don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so I bet some of your favorite movies he's shot
Yeah.
for sure. So he shot, you know, a lot of Coen Brothers films. you know.
Okay.
No
I-
Country for Old Men.
I
is
love the
one.
Coen brothers.
He shot Blade Runner.
Okay.
The newest one.
Yeah.
And a lot of things.
I don't know their name, but I'm familiar with this.
That
Yeah.
movie, the newest one, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I was like, that was my favorite movie that year.
Which one?
The new Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it, man.
Dude, it was like a 3-hour movie, but like literally, it didn't feel like one. And I was like in
Same.
that movie, just like the visuals are just ridiculous. Like this is such a sick movie.
And
like,
yeah, dude. And that director, Denis Villeneuve,
Yeah,
is like
he's
that.
so good.
I would love to work with him for sure.
did you see Enemy?
I did.
Yeah,
I love that movie.
That was a good movie too.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah,
His first one, I think, is Polytechnique, the black and white
I never saw that
school
one.
shooting one.
Did he also do Prisoners?
He did Prisoners.
That was a cool one.
Sicario. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
He's
one.
great, man. Arrival is one of my.
Oh yeah, that
Top,
was
top.
that was a really cool movie
Yeah.
too. Yeah, man, that's
So Deakins for sure as an inspiration because he services the story. So you look at his films, you know, you see the typical like Deakins like look, and you know it's him, but not all the time because he's like in service of the story. And I would say, you know, one of the younger cinematographers, Bradford Young, he's like real inspiration to me. He shot Arrival.
what has he done? Okay,
Arrival,
Okay.
Anthem Body Saints. You know, he did Han Solo recently.
okay,
But so he kind of he's an inspiration because he shoots in a way that's true to himself and what he believes in. You know, so he has this whole psychology with how he shoots and why he shoots, and he tries to put a piece of himself in the project. And it's interesting because that's how I approach projects as well. So it's kind of nice to see that someone has like the same beliefs and approach that I have, and he's also like into like super dark images too, which is cool.
Put a piece of yourself in just in your choices, like as a cinematographer.
Yeah, and just like your perspective, right? You know, instead of just being like a yes man and be like, oh, you want to do that? Okay, let's do that. You want to do this? Okay, let's do that. And just approaching it like, well, you know, what do you think about this? This is how I see this. What do you think about it? Let's talk about it. Let's try to you know, collaborate from my experiences mixed with your experiences, and let's just have this like unique marriage and put your style forward, you know, without getting in the way.
right.
So.
The least thing you want to do. Has
Yeah.
any actor ever kind of given you shit about something?
Oh, no, man. I mean, again, thinking about it.
They've all been
He's
good.
too chill. They're not
Samuel
gonna get-
Jackson. said-
Well,
Yeah.
if I would have like, you know, said it.
You're like, I can't believe you asked them that, man. What's wrong
No,
with
but
you?
I think they really appreciate how I approach things. I would think, you know, just because they see that I'm into it and they see that I'm trying to present them in the best light.
And if you're trying to service the story, I
Yeah.
think everybody's on that same page.
Yeah. So
Out of curiosity, when those days when it was lean, like DP work, what did you do for survival? Like, how'd you make money?
when I so in the beginning, going to film school, I was working first year of film school. I was working at the Empire State Building. I was working like at the kiosk, the observatory. I was like selling
Classic
souvenirs.
tourist trap.
Yeah, dude. And I would work from like
Did you hate that or no?
I did, man.
So many damn people coming in here.
It was rough, but it was easy to
Yeah.
disappear with the so I could like disappear for like 20 minutes and no one would know where I would go and just
Yeah.
chill out. But I would work from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then have to go to school the next day for an 8 a.m. class. And this was all the way in Long Island. You know, being from Brooklyn and New York, I didn't drive. You know, driving in New York
Yeah.
was a luxury. You know, it wasn't a necessity
Right.
because public transportation was so good. But now that I had to go to Long Island, I had to figure out public transportation out there, which is like the suburbs, you know. So it would take me like 2 hours in the morning to get to school with like a train and 2 buses. And so, you know, getting home like at 3 a.m. to wake up at like, I don't know, 5:30 to get to school. And that was like the first semester of college. And it just got really tough. But it was, I was making a paycheck, which I was able to balance things out. And then I was just like, I can't really immerse myself in film and the people that I'm here with if I'm working, because I would, cut out early and just to make the bus to go back to go to work. So I decided second semester, I'm just not going to work. I'm just going to, focus on school. And that was tough because I didn't have like financial support, So I was kind of working in school to make, I don't know, a couple $100 a week to be able to like feed myself.
A couple $100 for a week is not that much.
It's not much at all, man.
Especially in New York.
So, so and then paying for like the Long Island Railroad, which takes me back into the city, is like a ticket was like $10 one way or something like that. So the money would go quick. So I would stay on campus as much as I could, and I had a buddy who was also a director. He just did a cool piece recently. But Ryan O'Leary, he was dorming at school, and his roommate never showed up to his dorm, so he just had this free bed, and I would just like crash with him as much as I could, and we kind of developed a relationship, and we were cool, and we'd collaborate on a lot of things. And
he's like, when there's a sock on the door, you know what that means, buddy. Sleeping in the street.
Sleeping in the street, but it was cool, man. But it was like the suburbs. There was nothing around, and I didn't drive, and just kind of hitching with people. It was like to go to Taco Bell, and things like that.
Just whatever you could get.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But it was rough. And then after school, it was rough too. So, but fortunately, I could, stay with my parents and kind of, try to figure it out that way.
They were like, if you only were a civil engineer,
you
wouldn't
would
be
not
here.
have a problem. Yeah. But it got sketchy sometimes. There were times where I would be like negative in the bank, and I'm like, man, questioning everything. What am I going to do? On Craigslist looking for a part-time job. And then, but always a job would come up when I would
find a way.
There was like always a job that would just show up, and I was just whenever I was like at the bottom, and I was like, okay, and I would work and make a little bit of money, and that was going on for the first couple of years, and then eventually I would get better jobs and get some kind of financial stability.
You just never got discouraged. You just never gave up.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I just kept at it, because I had something to prove to myself and to my parents, and so I kind of kept at it.
And it paid off.
I think.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell.
So what's next on the radar for you? What are you getting into?
Right now, I've just been working on this like docu-series with this doctor. His name is Dr. Longo, and he's like investigating like longevity and things like that. And so I was just in Ecuador shooting with him. And
what's the secret?
A diet and intermittent fasting is what he's saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and then I'm going to Italy in a couple of weeks to shoot out there in Sicily and Sardinia and things like that, which is cool.
You guys need a couple friends to go with you?
Yeah,
I'll carry the bags.
Yeah. But it's fun. Traveling is just such a nice thing to work for sure.
When you travel, do they send the gear out there, or do you get the gear over there?
It depends on the country. I know for Ecuador, we got the cameras here in LA, and we flew with them, and we got the lights in Ecuador. Italy, they have a big industry there for filmmaking, so I think we're going to get everything out there.
Cool. Any more narrative work coming up?
Yeah. So I might have a pilot later on in the fall, which is directed. I've been working with a lot. Russian director. Her name is Yana, and she's like super, super interesting with how she approaches filmmaking. She's all about visual storytelling. She doesn't really like dialogue, and she has I kind of like compare her to Tarkovsky in a way, Andrei Tarkovsky.
I'm not familiar with him.
He's this Russian director during like the Soviet Union era.
Okay.
But he was like super controversial at the time. Like he was like against the government and all that.
So this isn't going to be for network TV, this pilot.
Well, she wants to sell it. She's working with the producer, and she just wants to shoot this piece, and then in hopes to get it picked up.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a drama.
It's a drama. Again, very visual, very metaphorical, very metaphoric. And she just, it's funny, I was talking to her, and she just doesn't really care if the audience fully understands what.
She just wants to make what she likes.
Yeah, she's, that you can make a movie for everyone, or you can make it for yourself.
Right.
And so she's all about like, this is an expression of me. This is what I want to say. And so
kind of reminds me of the director Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, oh man.
He does some weird shit.
You see Dogtooth?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That movie's wild.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Did you see the favorite, the last one?
I did see The Favorite.
Did you like
Yeah, I
that
saw
one?
The Favorite.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. The performances were super strong. The visuals were great.
Yeah.
The person who played the Queen was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it didn't feel like his typical work, you know, because he didn't
Yeah.
write the script.
A little bit
But
different.
Yeah, but I still enjoyed it a
The
lot.
first time I watched it, I'm like, I don't know if I liked it. And then I watched it a second time, and I'm like,
And you bought a
nah,
rabbit.
It's good.
Yeah.
I know. I ate a rabbit. Ate a rabbit.
He did The Lobster too.
Yeah, Killing of Sacred Deer.
Oh, that
I
one
really
was-
liked that
man.
movie a lot. That
That
movie
might-
was so funny.
That might be my favorite. of
Yeah,
his.
I actually really liked that movie a lot. I think more than The Lobster.
Did not
Yeah.
see that one.
That was-
It's worth
that
the
was-
watch
that
for
was-
sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Any plugs? Where can people find
How
you?
can people find you? You have a Venmo. What's the best?
Yeah, so you can on Instagram.
Where do people hire you? Is there a,
You could find me on Instagram.
okay.
What is it?
John JOHN_ Rosario ROSARIO.
Okay.
But there's a film coming out. I
Uh-oh.
don't really get to talk about, but
Whoa, let's talk about it. What happened?
We asked you what's next for you.
Yeah, and you just
That was
you
like-
just skated past
I
it.
already shot this.
Okay.
It shot this in Montgomery, Alabama. It was a civil rights piece called Son of the South. I shot that with Barry Brown. He is Spike Lee's longtime editor.
Okay.
He was just up for an Oscar for Black Klansman.
Okay. Cool.
Nice.
And so this was kind of like his baby, his directorial debut. Spike Lee was the EP on this film. It's a period piece, 1969 or 70. I might be wrong with the dates, but period piece, civil rights,
Full feature.
full feature,
Okay.
civil rights movement, based on like this white Southerner who's like the grandson of a Klansman, and he just kind of has a change of heart and joins the civil rights movement, and you kind of follow him through this journey based on a true story,
Cool.
Robert Zellner. So
Sounds like an Oscar-nominated piece already.
man, I hope so. I hope
Dude,
so. It
Did
was
you,
a,
did you get to talk to Spike Lee and?
no. Well, Spike Lee at the time was shooting in the Philippines for his next movie that's coming out. But collaborating with Barry was super interesting because he's like a master editor. He's like, he's been editing for a long time, a lot of
Yeah.
Spike's films. And just working with him was interesting because he knows what he wants. There's just no wasted shots. There's no wasted, moments. He's like, this is what I need for the cut, because he's an editor. And it was just an interesting collaboration for sure.
So who directed that then?
Barry.
Barry directed?
Barry.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
So
Yeah,
he's
so-
directing and he's going to edit this?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so he knows exactly like
He
he's like, that's
knows.
not going to
He
be
knows.
edited. Like,
He
let's
knows.
not waste our time.
Yeah.
Over the shoulder, moving on.
Yeah.
But it was cool because like he was like really trying to push the boundaries on this one. Like
Okay.
he contacted me because he wanted to go super dark. He was like, I want
Yeah.
it to be dark. I want it to be moody. I want it to be really just out there. And we just want to do one-ers and wide shots and just like really push the visuals.
Right.
That's what
Nice.
I like. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that
Some
was
dark shit,
fun.
man. Cool. I love that.
It was tough, but it was fun.
That's awesome.
sure.
Real quick, last question for me, at least. I don't know if you guys have a question. Now that you got the Emmy, this stuff is going on. Like, how does it work for you guys for representation? Do you have an agent that gets you gigs, like even the shorts, or are you still kind of actively looking on your own? How does that work?
So I've right now it's funny 'cause before I shot Son of the South, some agents were hitting me up, because I guess they heard about this film and they were like, oh, let's
Okay.
keep an eye on this guy. Let's see
Right.
let's see what's up. And so a few were contacting me for representation. I currently don't have representation.
Okay.
I kind of want it to just make sense for me. Like right now, I don't think I need it. I'm able to just negotiate my own stuff, and I think eventually I will.
But you turned them down. They said we would like to, and you said not the right time.
Yeah, it was kind of like let me just wait a second. Let's talk about this. Let's see what's
We got
what's
time.
up. Yeah, we got time. It just right now I don't think it makes sense to commit.
Just tell them, hey, you know what? I'm busy polishing my Emmy.
Do cinematographers have agents?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. The best thing for me is that they negotiate for you, so you don't have to deal with the awkwardness with
Yeah, the
producers
money,
and
for
things
sure.
like that. So that's the biggest benefit. Sometimes they get you gigs, which is great,
Right.
but the negotiation aspect is like really good.
Are they submitting you for work then? Is that typically they submitting to a producer or a
Yeah.
production company?
Yeah, they submit a handful of names and they look at it and they say, oh, this guy's interesting. Let's bring him in for an interview, and then you go that way.
Meeting and nice, man.
But most of my work has been word of mouth. I think
Right.
the best thing you can do is cultivate your relationship with like directors and producers, and then they recommend you for something, and then
Yeah.
your network just grows and grows from there.
By the way, did you work with Cristine? How did you know Cristine?
No, she's friends with my focus puller.
Okay.
And so we hung out a few times.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is random. I should have asked you that a lot earlier, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I just remembered, like, oh yeah, Cristine. She was on the pod.
Yeah. That's right.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the pod.
I met her at a TV Academy event and harassed her to get over here and come on the podcast,
Nice.
and she reluctantly accepted.
Oh,
No,
I'm sure she had a blast.
No, she was awesome.
Yeah.
She was great.
Great guest.
Good stories.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, thank you for coming by, man.
Thanks for having me.
We'll reach out to you. You already gave out the Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Cool. A lot of fun, man.
Yeah. This is great. Thanks for having me.
That's the
Appreciate it,
best
dude.
guest yet.
No.
Great pod.
Hollywood.